I moved to a mirrorless camera system in 2013. There were no complex technical reasons for doing so, it was just a matter of size and weight. The two systems here are actually quite similar. On each body there's a fixed focal length pancake lens, there's a standard zoom, a wide angle zoom and a telephoto zoom, and a flash unit. Here we have a Canon 40D, an EF-40mm, EF-70-200 f4, an EF-S 10-22, an EF-17-40 and a Canon 430EX flash. And the mirrorless system consists of an EOS M body with the EF-M 22 pancake lens on it. There's an 18-55 zoom lens, an 11-22 zoom lens and a 55-200 zoom lens, and a small Canon 90EX flash. The DSLR system weighs just under 3 kilograms and the mirrorless system weighs just over 1 kilogram, so it's almost a factor of 3. And of course, with a lighter system you can have lighter accessories. So with this system I just use the small Surui carbon fibre tripod I have, which is 0.7 kilograms, whereas the DSLR system really needs a bigger tripod. I use my Gitzo, which is 1.8 kilograms. It may not look or sound a lot, but I live in a very hot and humid country, and I remember carrying all this gear around in a backpack and then sitting down for a drink and a rest, and after I finished my drink not wanting to continue. I just didn't want to pick up the backpack again, it was too heavy. Conversely, the mirrorless system is really easy to carry around. I just use a small shoulder bag for the camera, and I have a waist belt with 3 lens cases on that I use to carry the lenses. It's just so much lighter and smaller and easier. Despite the mirrorless system being a lot smaller and a lot lighter, you don't actually sacrifice very much in terms of image quality. The APS-C sensor inside the EOS M bodies is basically the same as the sensor in Canon DSLR APS-C bodies, and the EF-M lenses are very good. What you do sacrifice is a little speed, but for the type of photography I do, I don't need blazing fast frame rates or autofocus speeds. At first the EOS M was quite frustrating because it was very slow. Initially Canon offered a firmware upgrade that improved the autofocus speed, but the best upgrade was when I moved to an EOS M6. That was a far superior camera to the original EOS M, and I've been very happy with it. And today's video is going to be about the pancake lens that's on the camera now. It's the EF-M 22mm f2. I bought my EOS M in a kit that included the EF-M 22 and the EF-M 18-55. After that I bought the EF-M 11-22. Now all 3 of these lenses are very high quality and have a metal lens mount. After this the EF-M lenses started to appear with plastic lens mounts, such as this one, the EF-M 55-200, and it wasn't until the EF-M 32 1.4 that the metal lens mount reappeared. Let's go through the specifications. And the diameter is just over 6 centimeters. The length is just under an inch, and the weight is 3.7 ounces or 105 grams. The front filter size is 43 millimeters, but this is the only lens I have where I don't use a filter on the front for protection. The reason being is that the front element is so small that even if the lens was knocked, it's unlikely that the front element will be damaged. The maximum aperture is a nice fast f2 and the minimum aperture is f22. The closest focusing distance is just 15 centimeters or about 6 inches. Just like the Canon EF-40mm pancake, Canon EF-M lenses use stepper motor technology for autofocus. These days many people use digital cameras for video, and stepper motors, because they are quieter and smoother, are better suited for video. When you turn the focusing ring with the camera off, nothing happens because there's nothing mechanical in the focusing mechanism. With the camera on, when you turn the focusing ring, it sends an electrical signal back to the camera, and then the camera sends another electrical signal out to the stepper motor, which controls the focusing mechanism. These stepper motors aren't quite as fast and snappy as ultrasonic motors, but for the type of photography I do, the speed is perfectly adequate. Many lenses these days have image stabilization. This one doesn't. I guess the brief for the Canon engineers was to keep the lens as small and light as possible, and there was no room for an IS mechanism. It's not really a problem. The general rule for minimum shutter speed when hand holding is the reciprocal of the focal length. And this has a focal length of 22, which is equivalent to about 35mm on a full frame camera. So as long as you're shooting faster than a 30th of a second, there shouldn't be any problems. And I've never really missed IS when using this lens. So what do I use this lens for? And the obvious answer is I use it when I want the smallest and lightest rig possible, because it's the smallest and lightest lens I own. When I'm traveling, I find I like the flexibility of a zoom when there's plenty of light. So during the daytime, I'll take either the 18-55 or the 11-22, or both. And then I'll go back to my hotel in the evening, and when I go out again at night, I'll take the 22mm. And there are two reasons for that. The first is that when I go out at night, I don't want to carry very much, so it's really small. And secondly, because it's got the maximum aperture of f2, it's got a lot of light gathering capability, and it's much more suited to night photography than my other lenses. Of course, no lens is any good if the image quality is bad, so what I'll do now, I'll just show you a few sample photos. Bigger apertures give you a much narrower depth of field, and this photo is just to illustrate the depth of field at f2. This next image is just to give you an idea of bokeh quality, and it was also taken at aperture f2. Finally, would I recommend this lens? And the answer is an emphatic yes. It's only a question that applies to Canon EOS M users, because the lens can't be used on other systems. All of the EF-M lenses are very good, some are better than others, and this is one of the best. So I would actually recommend